Please let her go. I need my baby.
We will be determining the person or persons responsible, and we will bring them to justice.
She was just a little girl out playing. She didn't have a chance.
Okay.
So I don't think he deserves a chance either.
I need her. I miss her. And I love her so much.
It was beautiful outside on the morning of the 27th of March 2009. Birds chirped as the children of Orchard Estates Mobile Home Park were out and about. Amongst them, 9-year-old Sandra Cantu had permission from her mother to see a friend. With a quick "I love you" and a kiss, she went off, decked out in her Hello Kitty top and leggings, innocent as could be. Little did her mother, Maria Chavez, know this would be the last time she saw her girl. It wasn't until Sandra wasn't home for dinner at 3 p.m. that her mother got worried. Sandra was a good little girl. Independent, yes, but something was definitely wrong. Being acquainted with most of the residents, Maria set out to ask if anyone had seen Sandra, but nobody did. An hour later, with no news of her whereabouts, Maria called Tracy County Police and filed a missing persons report. At 9 p.m., Officer Tim Bauer picked up the phone, tired from his long day at work, unaware of the horrors that awaited on the other line. The next day, the whole trailer park, including people from outside of the community, gathered together in solidarity to show their support for Sandra's family. Candles were lit as a sign of hope, but they could only burn for so long. A woman ran out into the crowd, up towards an FBI agent. "I found a letter," she exclaimed. She claimed she found it on her front lawn. It said, "Cantu locked in stolen suitcase, thrown in water on Bichetti and Whitehall, witness." The misspelling and coincidence of a tip ending up on someone's lawn immediately alerted law enforcement. They were confused as to why Sunday school teacher Melissa Huckabee would be the recipient of the letter and not the Cantu family. Officer Tim Bauer was put in charge of the search for Sandra Cantu. He set up search parties of bloodhounds to search throughout the trailer park, the park near Sandra's school, and other places she may have gone. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children did their part and passed out flyers throughout the city with a current photo of Sandra and a description. By March 29th, a $2,000 reward was offered by Tracy Crime Stoppers for any information on Sandra's whereabouts, and by the 30th, the Carol Sund Carrington Foundation added $5,000 more on top. The reward eventually reached $22,000. A surveillance video of Sandra's last moments seen was released to the public. In the video, she is seen skipping from her trailer when something catches her eye. She later disappears, walking towards another trailer. On April 11th, a farmer named Jose Luis Franco found a suspicious suitcase tied together with a string in a dairy pond he was draining, just north of the trailer park. He alerted the authorities, who discovered the horrific sight. Inside the suitcase was the body of Sandra Cantu. Forensic evidence showed that Sandra had passed away from asphyxiation, and drugs were found in her bloodstream. She was also assaulted with a foreign object. The case suddenly had an open door for a female suspect. A couple of suspects were pointed to by residents, and the sex offender registry was checked. One, Frank Waller, was a specific suspect. He was reported to have kicked Sandra on the mouth the summer before at the swimming pool, but as he was teaching karate at the time of her disappearance, he was quickly ruled out. Another man named Christian Sinclair was suspected, and while the police found CP on his computer when his house was raided, no other evidence was found. The focus shifted back to the woman who found the letter, Melissa Huckabee. Melissa Huckabee was an acquaintance of the family, well known in the trailer park for being the local pastor's granddaughter. She had recently moved in with her grandparents with her daughter, and Sandra would sometimes come over to play. Melissa had been arrested a couple of times for petty theft and had filed police claims against previous boyfriends for physical and alcohol abuse, but there was nothing violent on her record. However, there was evidence that made her a prime suspect. On the 27th, the day Sandra had disappeared, she had reported a black suitcase missing. Investigators took a deeper look at the handwriting on the note and found that Melissa had attempted to forge the letter. Searching her house for evidence, a notebook with the same amount of lines ripped out of a page was also found. It became clear that Melissa was at least involved in the case. A retired Marine and his wife also reported that they saw Melissa and her SUV at the irrigation pond where the body was found. When asked, Melissa suspiciously said she had stopped at the pond to urinate. Next was to check the classroom where she worked. A piece of drawstring was missing from the blinds. They thought back to the string that was used to tie the suitcase shut. Most horrifying of all was the rolling pin that was found, bent with a brown substance on it. Forensic evidence showed Sandra's DNA. There was also previous instances where Melissa allegedly drugged people. Melissa had been in the hospital since April 8th because she had ingested rape, but police were still determined to find more evidence to arrest her. Both her cell phone and home phone were wiretapped on April 8th, and text messages were able to be retrieved. What was found was horrifying. On the day the suitcase was discovered, Melissa had sent a text message to her grandmother, Connie. They are having a 8:15 p.m. news briefing on the suitcase. That was fast. I hope they didn't find anything. Another text was sent at 8:42. It's her. Before it was revealed at the press conference at 9:15 that it was Sandra. Even more chilling was the next text message at 10:10 p.m. I hope she wasn't sexually assaulted. Information that wasn't released publicly until April 13th. On April 10th, the police had a scare. While listening in, Melissa called Maria to ask if Sandra's sister Miranda could come over to play. Police immediately rushed to Melissa's house to see a teenage girl walk up to the door. Luckily, it was just a neighbor. To avoid spooking her, they decided this was the time to question Melissa. Melissa Huckabee was brought into the Tracy police station for questioning, lured under the guise of showing her photos of the suitcase. When asked why she thought someone would target Sandra, Melissa explained that Sandra would be an easy target because she was independent and her parents seldom looked after her. One-on-one, she recounted her story to Tim Bauer. She had last seen Sandra around 3 p.m. on the 27th when the girl had knocked on her door and asked to play with her daughter Madison. Melissa was busy and refused. She had to decorate the church. She finished packing items into her car around 4 p.m. when she noticed that her suitcase was missing. After alerting the trailer park manager, Melissa hopped into her car and drove to the church. Around 6:20 p.m., she drove home where she spent the rest of the night. Tim Bauer contradicted her story, mentioning the surveillance footage. Just before Sandra went missing, she appeared to see something by Melissa's trailer and was last seen walking towards it. 8 minutes later, Melissa was seen driving out of the mobile home park in the direction of Clover Road Baptist Church. 30 minutes later, she was seen driving back from the church. He asked her to try again. Melissa broke into tears. She admitted that she saw Sandra that day, who had come over to play with her daughter. They decided to play hide and seek, and Melissa helped Sandra hide inside a suitcase to scare her daughter. She had forgotten about Sandra, and a few hours later went to help the girl out. But Sandra was unconscious. After attempting CPR, Melissa had panicked and dumped the body. But a toxicology test found alprazolam in Sandra's body, which Melissa used to treat her anxiety. Also, the suitcase was way too small for Sandra to crawl into by herself. Someone must have shoved her in there. Tim asked her once more for her to try again. Melissa insisted that Sandra must have gotten into her medicine cabinet, but none of this added up. There were clear signs of struggle and sexual assault. Melissa vehemently denied the latter, but the facts were all there to prove her twisted act. Melissa Huckabee pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and kidnapping with enhancements in order to avoid the death penalty. With a life sentence without parole, she still claims that she did not assault Sandra, despite evidence to the contrary. Sandra Cantu was a sweet child who loved to color, garden, and sing Hannah Montana. Janet Anderson, Sandra's cousin, began an annual event on Sandra's birthday called Tracy Celebrates Children, where the community works together to teach children the dangers of society. Hundreds of local children have been fingerprinted and photographed in order to help investigators track them down in the case of another kidnapping. A tree and a new playground was also erected in Sandra Cantu's name. Not only have the parents of Tracy County become more cautious as a result of this devastating case, but so have the rest of the United States. In fact, the very man who found the suitcase said that he doesn't allow his children to play outside on the lawn anymore, afraid they will also become a statistic of missing children. Everyone talks about stranger danger, but nobody watches out for the mother next door. Those who cause the most pain can be the people closest to you. For more twisted stories, make sure to subscribe. Until next time.